So I know you went through the honeymoon period and your drinking was up and down from there. Do you think it's a good time right now to share your drink log that you shared with me from like the moment you started the method until today?
Sure, yeah, that'd be
Okay, I'm
great.
going to share my screen.
So I actually started recording. I started my drink log. It looks like April 17th. So I started the drink log a month prior to actually starting Naltrexone. So you could see, and I measured mine in ounces of beer per day. I was almost exclusively a beer drinker. And so it just made it very easy for me to track things in terms of ounces of beer per day. And you'll see that large spike right before I started the Sinclair method. I was up close to like probably what, 290 ounces of beer per day, which is a pretty hefty amount. I don't feel like doing math in my head right now, but that's probably about a case of beer right there.
Okay.
So not a real proud moment for me.
Yeah. But it makes your chart really powerful because you can just see the decline.
Right,
Um,
right. Yep.
what really stands out to me is, the fact that it's not a perfect downward trajectory for you. Like there were spikes even like toward the end of, or, the recent past, if you will, of your journey, where it's like you had some weeks where you were really drinking quite a bit more than the weeks surrounding it. So that's something that I think can cause some people on TSM to panic a bit, like, oh no, it's increasing. And I'm wondering how you dealt with that and what your perspective is on that.
Yeah, those moments got a little scary. Not so much scary, discouraging, put it that way. Fortunately, I knew from a lot of your videos that there are ups and downs along the way.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you speak about that because I think sometimes last night, actually, we had a group call in our program, and some people have joined who've been on the method for a while, and they were talking about that they were just kind of like isolating at home and doing the method by themselves and not reaching out for support, and how essentially unhelpful that can be because you're kind of just in your own mind, you're in your own world. And when you have these setbacks, which are inevitable, it can be really discouraging. And I've just seen people go non-compliant because they give up. That's, the discouragement is okay. It's going to happen. But to be able to reach out to people and know, like, hey, is this normal? Like, what should I do? And super important to reach out. And I know sometimes people can feel ashamed of the drinking and maybe not reach out for help, but just encouraging people to do that. Those who
Yeah.
are listening. Anything else you want to say about this chart? And again, this is from when you started in roughly spring 2023 all the way to today, which is the end of January 2024.
Yep. So the chart goes back 9 months. I started the Sinclair method May 19th. So let's see what I want to share. Just as you're well aware and your listeners are well aware, there are lots of ups and downs along the way. You can see the large spikes, you can see you know, the alcohol free days, and you can't allow any of that to discourage you. You just keep track on a daily basis how much you drink and
Yeah. I wanted
and
to highlight this part because this is where you started. So you had your obvious drink reduction
yeah,
significantly the honeymoon period, and then it shot right back up to where it was where you started, right? Is that what
yep,
happened?
yep, exactly. And then it even shot higher after that.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So I hope people watching this have perspective just to see like, okay, it's not a perfect trend downward. There are going to be days or weeks where you feel like, actually, I want to ask you, on those weeks where it's spiking back up, what did you feel? Were you like, is this not working? Or like, what did you, as you look back, what was it that was causing the drinking to go up and down? Was it like behavioral? Was it just habit? What was it?
In my opinion, I describe it as the naltrexone is uh, is weakening the addiction, but the addiction doesn't like it, so it likes to fight back.
So true. That's a good way
Okay,
to put it.
so those spikes are the addiction trying to fight back. But as you'll note, and those are represented by the spikes. But
Yeah.
as you'll notice, after each spike, it loses strength. So it starts to come down, and then the addiction eventually will kick back again. But usually, when it kicks back, it can't kick back as strong as it did previously.
Yeah.
So each time the addiction kicks back, it's losing strength.
Yeah. That's a
So
really good way to put it.
that's how I came to interpret those spikes.
Yeah. Okay, so should I share your other drink log that shows the more recent past so people can see what's happened in the last, I think, couple months?
Sure, yeah, that'd be great. That would be, yes, last 3 months. So that's a daily drink log. So you can see this is a nice graph because it shows starting just about halfway through, you'll notice there are a lot of alcohol-free days, a lot of alcohol-free periods occurring. And that's very encouraging. Once you start getting 3, 4, 5, 6 alcohol-free days in a row, you know you're in a pretty good place.
Yeah.
Yep, right about there. Um, and you'll also notice the spikes each time become weaker than the previous spikes.
Yeah.
So again, you can see the addiction is losing its strength over you.
Yeah. So, wow, this is really cool. Yeah, those chunks of alcohol free time, that's really encouraging. What were those days like for you? Because leading up to that, I mean, you had some, but not this many consecutively. So were these just becoming easier and easier for you to kind of stack on top of one another, or what was that like?
Yeah, it was great. The best word I can use to describe it is freedom. I finally felt like I was gaining my freedom from alcohol. Um, so, for example, right where your cursor is right now, that's probably about a 5 day alcohol-free period, a couple days of alcohol, and then another 4 day
Yeah.
alcohol-free period, some spikes, 6 days alcohol free, um,
Mm.
then a few minor drinking days. And then another five alcohol,
Yeah.
another period of 5 alcohol free days. And right in that section, I knew like if I'm not at extinction yet, I'm darn near close.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And for those listening, the way Dr. Sinclair defines extinction in his book, and it doesn't necessarily mean abstinence from alcohol because part of the Sinclair method is if you continue to drink, you just continue to take naltrexone beforehand.
yeah,
But extinction, like you described, that freedom from alcohol, some people say it's an indifference to alcohol. I like to say you have regained control over alcohol and no longer preoccupied or craving it, regardless of whether or not you're drinking. So the way Sinclair defined extinction is, it's not necessarily abstinence from alcohol. It means that if you are drinking, you're drinking with control. And oftentimes people they don't crave alcohol anymore, which
right.
is
Yeah,
freedom.
exactly. And at that point, I had lost my cravings. I wasn't craving. Those alcohol-free days were effortless. It's
Mhm.
not like I woke up and said, okay, I'm going to try to go alcohol-free today. I just legit did not feel like drinking on those days.
Yeah.
When you can get 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row like that, you just know you've reached a new level. It's a really good place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. You start to enjoy things outside of life in a whole new way. And you're not craving a drink. So it's not this white knuckled experience like you talked about before. Um, Something I want to note here too, like this is a daily drink log. So again, not this perfect trend downward. Like, there were weeks or days where you were hardly drinking, and then other days it would be like double or triple or even quadruple the amount. And so for people to just notice that because that's just part of TSM. I've observed this in so many people over the years, but when you look at the bigger trend, it's like, this nice trend downward overall.
Yep, exactly.
Anything else from this one? Because the next one I wanted to share is going to be the third and final one, and it's going to show the last few months, but also from a perspective of weekly, which shows a different kind of chart. Anything else from this?
From this, no, I think you'll notice in to the very far right of this graph, the last 14 days were alcohol free.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, it's just, that's a really nice place to be. And that's when I went 14 days alcohol free, I'm like, okay, I think I've reached extinction. At this point, if I want to drink, I know I just take my naltrexone 1 hour before, and I can enjoy a drink, with dinner if I want to. But to be honest with you, I don't want to. Alcohol doesn't have the same appeal to me as
Yeah.
it used to in the past. I can take it or leave it, to be honest
Mhm.
with you. So.
Yeah. That happens for a lot of us on the method. When you started, did you imagine that that would happen, that you would lose your interest in alcohol or it would lose its appeal, or was that surprising to you?
Um, Yes and no. I mean, based on others' experiences, I realized that a lot of people said, I just became indifferent to it. So
Yeah.
part of me expected that, but when it actually happens to you, it is a surprise.
Yeah.
There's a part of you that just can't quite believe it until it happens.
It's so true.
So yeah,
I think that's why a lot of people start the method and they're like, I can never imagine quitting drinking. And that's the great thing about the treatment. Like you don't have to if you don't want to, but like what happened for me and what happened for you, it's you just like become so uninterested in alcohol that it's easier not to drink. You're like, yeah, no, doesn't
exactly.
sound good.
Right, right.
All right. So here's the final chart we're going to show that is a weekly chart from October 23 until today, January 24. And I wanted to show this one because it's more of that like clean line downward where, the
Yeah.
daily was up and down. But this just kind of shows that clearly week over week, you're continuing to reduce. So any comments on this from you?
Yeah, so this is of the last 3 months. So starting right around October 19th, which would have been exactly 5 months to the day from starting, that's when the drinking really started coming down. So I wanted to capture these last 3 months separately, which is why I created this graph. So 5 months into TSM, and the drinking has it just took a whole new it took a whole new downward trajectory in terms of the drinking. So once I started seeing this data week after week, I knew that I was what I would call the extinction phase. For some people, they say extinction happened at an exact moment. They knew exactly when it happened. For me, it was more of a phase. And this 3 month period was the phase where I felt like I was entering extinction. And this data just sort of helped me visualize it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
And I
you'll,
think you say that really well. Just that I think for many of us, it was true for me. It was more like a phase. It took me like a month or so to realize, like, am I at extinction just by kind of going through life's experiences and drinking experiences and seeing, am I craving alcohol? Do I have control every time I drink? Yeah. So I think it's important for people to realize that it can look like that, where it's this period of, yeah, I think I'm approaching that point of, again, indifference to alcohol or total control over alcohol.
yep, yep. And the same thing you'll notice on this graph, the addiction still tries to fight you. So it does try to, it tries to kick back, but each time it kicks back, you can see it loses strength.
Yeah.
Um, so that's
It's so true. That's why compliance is so important because if you go non-compliant, especially in those moments when it's fighting back, it's like winning in a sense and you're giving your brain the reward it's begging you for, in some way.
right.
Um so yeah. Anything else on this chart?
Um, no, I think the biggest takeaway on this one is, if you're one of those people for whom extinction takes period over a phase, this graph is a great representation of that phase.
Yeah.
And my extinction phase was about 3 months. So,
Very cool. Yeah, I'm super impressed by your logging. Like we could learn a thing or two from you because it's really amazing. I was telling you before we hit record, I think that was something I didn't do consistently with the method and I regret it because I would love to have the data to look back on and just see, what my personal day-to-day journey was over the year I was on the method. So kudos to you for keeping such good data.
thank you. Thanks.